My name is Yusuf Mufarich and I am a senior from FDR Lima, Peru. In this project, I will talk about how climate change will affect sardine total landings in Peruvian fisheries in the future. For this project, I will use a simplified version of my extended essay to give my stance about the future of Peruvian sardine fisheries. In this presentation, I will talk about the main characteristics of sardines, their numbers and trends, the factors that affect their survival, and what to expect of them in the future. The overview of sardines. Sardines are a small pelagic fish that are found in almost all the world. They measure up to 40 centimeters long and feed on plankton and other small fish. They are also food for marine mammals, large fish, and seabirds, and are most commonly found in the Indo-Pacific and East Pacific Oceans. Sardines are one of the most abundant fish on Earth and play a fundamental role in the transfer of energy from lower to higher trophic levels. Together with other small pelagic fish, they account for one-third of the global fish catches. The World Health Organization cites 21 species of sardines, and Sardinops sagex, the species that I am going to display in this presentation, are the most intensively fished. The number of sardines has declined during the past years, but they are still a fundamental part of Peru's economy. History of sardine fishing. As seen in this graph, the most successful years for sardines were around the mid-1980s and early 1990s. The increase in landings happened due to the efficiency of sardine fishing business and the increase in fleets. Due to lack of technology and overfishing, there was a substantial decrease after the boom in the early 1990s. Factors affecting sardine concentrations. Carbon dioxide and temperature are two fundamental factors that affect the number of sardines. The ocean absorbs up to 93% of the heat and one-fourth of the carbon dioxide that accumulates in the atmosphere. Therefore, the changes in the ocean that happen due to changes in heat and carbon dioxide directly affect sardine populations. Since 1950, the ocean has decreased around 0.11 pH units, resulting in a more acidic ocean. This disrupts feeding patterns and migration due to the changes in coral reefs and productivity of the environment. Optimal conditions for sardines were found to be when the annual temperature anomaly was around 0.4 degrees Celsius higher than normal and the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere was around 360 parts per million. Nitrogen is one of the most important factors that affect sardine concentrations. First of all, sardines rely on plankton, and plankton relies on nitrogen, meaning that depending on nitrogen levels, plankton and sardine numbers can increase or decrease. Nitrogen increases primary productivity, which affects the composition of plankton and eventually increases the productivity of sardines. The external sources of nitrogen vary due to climate change. Sardines are usually found offshore, meaning that they depend on upwelling and deep water mixing for plankton to be abundant. This is due to the new inputs of nitrogen that increase the productivity of their environment. In the future, climate change may increase wind and frequency of storms, making nitrogen more available. Regarding fishing, the rates in which sardines are fished has made their numbers decrease significantly. Peru is responsible for up to 30% of the world's fish meal and fish oil, making the demand increase and the rate of sardine extraction increase as well. Sardine concentration has significantly decreased since its peak in the 80s and 90s due to overfishing and the increase in fleets due to new private fisheries from other countries being introduced into Peru. My prediction about the future of sardines. I predict that as Earth's temperature continues to rise, sardines will be found in larger scales but more scattered in distribution. This is due to how, through time, sardines have dispersed more around the Peruvian coast and the highest numbers of sardines have been found in warmer years, possibly due to the enhanced productivity in producers that sardines rely on. As seen in the visual at the left, in comparison to the 1980s, where sardines were found in greater quantities near the shore, the period of the early 2000s show sardines further into the ocean and in smaller populations. Also, as seen in the image at the right, there is a trend in higher catches of sardines when the average ocean temperature anomaly is higher. This is not always a trend, but in general, spikes can be seen in warmer years. My conclusion after analyzing environmental factors. Where will sardines be found? Changes in marine temperature will make sardines move more around and frequently as they try to seek for optimal temperatures, making them also be more dispersed through time. Also, more storms will make more water mixing and more nutrients found in the ocean, especially at the top layer, making them probably be more abundant near the surface, trying to get plankton. But as human activity continues, sardines will possibly try to escape further offshore and will possibly change their migration and feeding patterns, making them more vulnerable. How would this impact fisheries? More resources such as fuel, food, water, energy, etc., will be needed in order for fleets to go further offshore in search for the scattered populations of sardines. Even though more resources will be needed, sardines will probably be closer to the surface and therefore they will be easier to catch. In order for this industry to keep working, technological advances will need to be made in order for this industry to be efficient and sustainable to guarantee more sardines for the future. Will there be more or less sardines? Incredibly, disregarding overfishing, climate change may enhance productivity and increase the amount of sardines. According to research, global primary productivity in the ocean is expected to increase between 0.7 to 8.1% in the future years, but the Pacific Ocean's productivity is expected to decrease. Peru is expected to have a slight decrease in catch potential between 2005 and 2055, especially because the climate change will cause changes in behavior such as migration and spawning locations, making sardines more scattered and less resilient to changes in their environment. As seen in the image at the left, various countries such as Norway, Greenland, and Iceland will be benefited by climate change and will have an increase in catch potential. In contrast, countries such as Indonesia, Chile, and Brazil will have a decrease in catch potential, which together with the image at the right suggests that sardines will possibly migrate further north to search optimal temperatures and be more productive. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope that this information will guide you to a better understanding of the future of the sardine industry in Peru.